picked.
Yeah, and they end up going for the Zeri, which, you know, I get, but the reason why Vi has risen to prevalence as this first pick is because of the fact it's so good into the Zeri, right? Being able to lock it down. RNG obviously don't want to give it over, but does mean that EDG have an answer so far. Gonna be interesting to see what EDG end up opting for here. The standard thing would just be that Sivir, Lulu, you know, match the scaling. We'll see if they do end up going for one of those aggressive early picks that we've seen, like the Draven, like the Kalista. Looks like, though, first, they're going to try and prioritize the mid lane pick for themselves. Something that, I mean, it goes without saying, Xiaohu has just popped off in this pick so far this series, but they are still going to take that Sivir and match the scaling.
Yeah, I mean, at least you have the Vi there for the lockup on the Zeri, which might give you a bit of an easier time, but I just would have liked to have seen, like, I agree with the desk, some sort of aggressive bot lane, right? I think Viper has been so good in Kalista, incredible on Draven, and we saw it, like, coming into today, we had a 40% ban rate against EDG, but not going to get it this time around. So, Sejuani now taking over on the opposite side for RNG, making sure that they still have the flex there if they want to put it top or into the jungle.
Yeah, I really like this because it means if EDG heavily ban towards the support pool, then RNG take a support on fourth, they get first choice. If they heavily ban junglers, they can put Sejuani jungle, heavily ban top, Sejuani top, kind of covering all their bases in the second rotation. I do feel like having the Vi to their combo, EDG have started strong in the draft, but RNG definitely have a chance to recover coming into the next two.
And then look, I mean, for EDG, at least you don't have to show all your cards here coming into this draft. You still have a second chance. Even if you lose this game here, you can still have another chance of getting in towards the plains for Worlds. But I think definitely wanting to start off on a good foot, I'll immediately put yourself into groups with that third seed would be great. But you already kind of highlighted it, Ox. Aatrox locked in, and Mumu banned away by RNG.
Maybe you could be concerned about the Jax as well. Obviously, Breed had a fantastic game one. Jax and Sejuani, especially as RNG can have last pick, counter pick, could be pretty devastating as well. Also, you could even think about the Lulu being paired with the Zeri. We saw how powerful it was in that game two when they were trying to jump onto Gala and he was surviving for so long, even though he did go down. And obviously RNG will be taking, like, can take that Lulu before EDG get their pick of support.
And for RNG's Ming, I gotta just shout out how well he played on things like the Yuumi and the Lulu as well.
What a good little kitten.
I was wondering if you'd end up bringing it back, but again, this is something that, like, you know, when you think of Ming, you think of hard engage, you think of things like the Nautilus, of course, like even the Alistair back in the day. You don't really think of things like the Lulu and the Yuumi. And to be honest with you, he was really struggling with it that much, you know, that little bit much more towards the end of the season. It did feel like it fit into RNG's wheelhouse. So for me, seeing RNG be able to be comfortable on this pick, and honestly, it feels like they should just go for it here again. It just makes a no-brainer. You keep that Sejuani as a flex, you keep that counter pick still available for that top side, and Breathe and Way can then discuss between themselves of what matchup they want.
Yeah, I think the big one here is now seeing what the plan is for Flandre. Like, at least the Renekton has been taken off the board because it has not worked out so hot at all for them thus far. But now going towards a more defensive top laner, potentially in the Gragas, I think this is the right call. I really think you need to start taking the fact you have this Taliyah, playing towards bot side, playing towards dragons, playing towards what has been the strength of EDG in playoffs. Like, it doesn't feel like we've got to see them at all yet.
Yeah, I do feel like, though, coming in with the Nautilus here, for EDG, I feel like it's going to be so hard to play Zeri into Vi Nautilus. Like, these are two of the champs that really shut the pick down. And I feel like it's between that and Renata, right? I know they're hovering them, but it's like, do you want the more scaling, bit more for defensive pick, leading in the later stages, or do you want to set the pace of the game and try and make Gala have a difficult time? And it looks like the course of action is make Gala have a difficult time.
Yeah, and I think it's the right call. I think this is what you need to do. And I'm like, Viper has been one of the standout performers for EDG, not only this year, but even last year as well. And now getting to see him finally, it looks like, get played around that little bit more, giving him the resource he needs, trying to shut down Gala. I think this is where you can actually take it to RNG. Because again, like, the reason I don't like Xiaohu on things like the Azir is that he ends up just staying in lane, doesn't try to hover for plays, and it means that RNG's early game falls completely apart, and that could be the weakness EDG need.
Well, RNG do use that flex. They put the Sejuani into the jungle, they give Breathe the Gnar, and you might not have seen it on the stage, on the camera, but Ox, you had some funny faces going on for that last pick.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Gnar is going to hold up well into the Gragas. You know, you can scale decently well in the side lane. We've seen Gnar be effective, but I feel like you went for that Sejuani pick. I was hoping they'd really leverage it to get a strong matchup. Maybe the Gragas was enough to shut down things like the Jax, but I don't know. I feel like I'm more confident in EDG in this one. I think RNG game 1 and game 2, I think they came in with solid drafts, big adaptations. I think EDG have the biggest edge they've had yet coming out of the draft phase, and I feel like this should be the one that they're able to answer back.
Yeah, it does definitely feel like they just have so much control here when it gets towards team fights. The way that they want to try and execute on the game plan. I mean, having 2 point-and-click CCs in the Vi and the Nautilus for Zeri and also that Azir just makes it very easy to try and play your style. And even if they can get, you know, the opportunity to lean in towards bot lane, you've got easy setup there as well. So I feel like the early game just it's just a very easy script for them to follow.
We're going to maybe see the final draft coming in here. The coaches, of course, have given their respects. Kenju, the old coach of EDG, actually ran a little bit of it, his own little kind of golden year. Won EDG with Summer and then Worlds, then won Spring with RNG and then MSI. Actually had a bit of a golden road himself coming into this year. One of the most decorated coaches in the LPL. For RNG, they are looking to try and sign, seal, and deliver their ticket to Worlds. EDG looking to try and keep this series alive. They don't want to have to go into another best of 5 in 2 days' time. They don't want to have to work that little bit of extra hard, you know, kind of extra effort to try and get themselves onto the world stage.
I feel like it's so risky because RNG and EDG have played a series against each other, right, when they were on the top side of the bracket, but they don't really have that much of a read. I mean, obviously, EDG went against LNG, but, like, you don't know what V5 is going to offer. You don't even know what jungler they're going to play. It's such a risky one to go into that second match. You want to secure your will spots here and now.
Here we are. I see a little bit of early vision being put down here by EDG, and then Dagda, again, we talked about kind of the vibe being the first pick. Again, another jungle pick coming in here for EDG, but definitely an awful lot more strength to kind of really hard force those engaged in the early game.
Yeah, it also gives you a lot of control for jiejie in these early stages to try and play around several lanes. Like, I know Meiko, not one who tends to roam, but you could link up with Meiko, look for plays mid. If you unlock Scout, then you start to roam bot side, repay the favor for Meiko, get Viper unlocked. Like, it feels like you've got a lot of ways to try and play around both mid and bot lane here for jiejie, and I think that's where we saw that difference in EDG versus RNG in that upper bracket, or upper side of the bracket for playoffs, is them actually looking with jiejie to link up a bot lane and find the success they needed to beat RNG.
And what I'd love is some early efforts to ban some summoners by EDG, because I feel like it's a bit tricky to get kills on things like the Gnar, the Azir, and the Zeri with the fact they all have dashes. But if you can ban like a flash, then when level 6 is hit, that's where really EDG's mid-jungle comes online. Bit of engage here, but just a heavy trade. But yeah, I feel like having the Taliyah, who has that Reaver's Wall, having the Vi with a point-and-click ultimate, if you burn someone's flash and level 6 is hit, especially if it's a side lane pick, they're just going to go down.
Gala just burnt his ghost there in that initial trade, so definitely getting a little bit antsy with this. But, I mean, look, it's not exactly going to be anything to write home about. You still have the flash there to keep him safe, but definitely feels like Gala and Ming want to make sure that they're not giving an inch in this bot lane in these early stages.
Breathe will have the early skirmishing in that top side. Of course, level 2 now being hit. But actually, funny enough, despite RNG getting the level 2, they have to respect the level 2 coming out here from EDG. Both junglers finding themselves on the bot side. The Arctic Assault used to get over the side of the wall. So way in a good position here to try and capitalize.
There's the power of some of these picks. Vi and Sejuani both come in this pool where you can use that dash to get over terrain, find new angles. If Meiko goes in, that's the window they're looking for.
They're looking for it. The Arctic Assault is back, and you can see now they're moving forward. Flashes are going to be burned, but it may have found Meiko. He does get the dredge line, but the permafrost does not come out in time. But Summoner's burns, you now do not have either flash on Viper or Meiko.
That's so big. Having both those flashes burnt means it becomes a lot more difficult for jiejie to try and play around this. So jiejie instead would turn his attention towards Xiaohu in the mid lane.
Maybe looking to try and make something work. Very difficult to really make this one work. Again, the only real kind of gank mid we see into those kind of setups is going to be the Poppy. And oh, flash forward, Meiko, one more auto attack. The Pix comes in clutch, and RNG get themselves another first blood.
Such a great play, capitalizing on the lack of flash, and Meiko just not recognizing the threat. Gala using the ability of the Zeri so well there, and I feel like the game plan for this bot lane, you know, we were saying, burn some summoners from RNG, set up the plays, allow the Nautilus to be aggressive. You've already started to lose out on that win con.
Yeah, RNG were like, that does sound really good. Let's do that play. That sounds great.
It's not a game plan. No.
Just scribbles out, you know, some of the letters, right to RNG on it. It's looking great. Now Breathe will go aggressive onto Flandre, and both junglers again matching each other. This time, though, will be the scuttle going over towards jiejie.
Well, at least EDG win that battle, right?
I like it. We were all just kind of looking at each other, kind of like, I guess it's a W. Like, I just gotta go from there. But Now jiejie trying to see if he can be more aggressive, because the amount of time that Wei did put down towards that bot side, he hasn't cleared out all of his top camps. He does have an opportunity to get some counter jungling coming.
I like what we're seeing from Meiko though. Like, this is kind of what I was talking about, was like, we don't traditionally see Meiko leave the lane. He is the support with the highest duo proximity in the LPL, but actually having him move in this scenario is going to be great. Like, work with jiejie, see if he can unlock Scout, and then you kind of get, like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Get some early pressure mid, and when you hit 6 for Scout then, and he has that advantage over the mid lane, he can then try and repay the favor in that bot lane, and jiejie at the moment doing his best job to be a nuisance.
I mean, if Wei sneezes in his red side jungle, they'll know about it. That's how much vision they've invested towards this top side, just kind of covering all angles around that top lane. And again, this is kind of something that we, and also the analysts, have been a little bit critical from EDG. It's like, yes, putting in topside pressure is important, but it hasn't been how EDG have gotten wins.
Yeah, the problem is the right bot, because the gank have been set a little bit behind, right, and also the pressure from RNG. Top, Flandre is just struggling, right? And this is kind of like thinking back to why EDG have tried to commit so much resources top, because of what happened when they went up against top esports, because Flandre floundered. And now he is already in a deficit without really any attention coming in. If this starts to expand out, then Gnar can become a real problem in the side lane. And with the fact that Scout has his level 6 now, soon jiejie will have his. That is where EDG really need to make things happen in the side lane, because right now both are struggling a bit.
And the problem is that you're going to see RNG like start to put pressure over towards things like the Dragon now. You got push in bot, you can get a nice push in mid, see if you can set up for some of these early objectives, especially if you're able to keep control with Gala and Ming on bot side, which they should with the double range matchup, move up towards things like Rift Herald. Then you can start to use the advantage Breathe has on top side. Like, it feels like for jiejie, he needs to get in, but Wei is just matching him every time.
Yeah, Wei's just kind of saying, look, just saw you use your smite, maybe get a bit of a cheeky steal off there, but not quite able to get it. And now we start to move back down towards that dragon. Like you mentioned, we're going to see Meiko and Ming starting to move away from their traditional duo partners and link up with their junglers.
Yeah, trying to find an angle here, and Wei has to be so careful because jiejie, because he's taken so many camps away, because he has that CS lead, his 6 isn't too far away, and that is going to be a big pivotal point, because like, we were a minute and a half away from Herald. Like, Wei needs to start getting experience, so he may not even have 6 for it, and then you really stand no chance of contesting the objective.
jiejie is starting to try and move in. Will kind of be matched here by Gala and Ming, who are like, look, we know that this is going to get a little bit funky on the spot side, so we're going to back away from this turret. Gives Viper a bit of time to push in this way, but I don't think it's anything really to write home about at the moment. At least for Wei, he's just trying to answer on this top side.
Again, more trading of the map, more trading of sides and pressure. And this is something that, again, we talked about. Yes, this is the chess to the boxing chess we talked about, but it is both teams just playing to their relative strengths.
I think you can definitely see that both teams are very aware that this game is literally going to make or break the series, right? Sets up EDG for a potential reverse sweep. RNG puts them into our 3rd seed spot, puts them into the world's group stage. And when you have the MSI champions versus the world champions, I mean, you've got to make sure that you're coming in all guns blazing. And right now, the only thing that we've seen shot is RNG or EDG at times shooting themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and I feel like especially is RNG have always been a team. People call them Kings of Spring, right? Everyone calls Xiaohu the Emperor of Spring. Summer hasn't been their best performance. Like, the fact they have the most MSI titles of 3 and haven't won a World Championship. And you may think, well, not many teams will win a World Championship. They do in the LPL.
Yeah. That's it. That's kind of the thing is right now is that RNG, in terms of their trophy case, that the World Championship is the one that's eluding them. It always has eluded them from the time when Uzi was
EDG can flex it
over
them.
Where's your world skin, bro? And he picks Yumi. But it's even more of an insult.
What a Giga Chad move.
Yeah. But again, this is something that RNG need to be very aware of, that they always know that they come in blazing in spring, and it always feels a little bit too little too late. So right now they're looking to try and put themselves back onto that world stage. And again, EDG, the reigning world champions, they don't want to be left in the dust either.
Well, it feels like a lot of it is going to rely on that World Finals MVP in Scout to see if he can try and make these plays with the Taliyah wall now hit. jiejie roaming topside again, matching Wei. These two junglers don't want to give an inch.
They're looking for a flash in, they land it, but they've already got Wei in the position. They're going to use the explosive cast, and it's a bounce house on top side. You can see Wei getting down the permafrost, but a good flash here from Flandre. Can they get Xiaohu with the soldiers? Not quite able to get him in the position. A good belly bop away means Flandre is safe, and EDG are on the board.
Oh, so close there. You can see members moving up from RNG to counter the play, but good execution from EDG, right? JJ connects the CC, and then the beautiful layering from Flandre will take Breeze out, and a lot was invested by EDG, so they will lose a bit of pressure in the top lane. They will lose some plates here, but Flandre should just be able to make his way back up to pick up the wave, and most importantly, RNG on a position to do Herald.
Yeah, that's the big one, is making sure that you aren't giving that space towards the potential Herald take. Great job here from jiejie to get that engage. Also getting this cease and desist right as that CC comes through from RNG means he's able to power through, but now we kind of just come back to basics, right? Both teams going to want to try and set up for this Herald. Breathe has pushed in this mid lane. Xiaohu and Ming quicker off the mark here when they're getting back towards the Rift Herald as well. It looks like RNG have already got themselves established for this.
I mean, the big thing now for me, Ox, coming into a potential Herald fight is that you use 2 flashes and 2 ultimates, whereas you didn't really use a lot on the side of RNG.
First mythic picked up for Xiaohu, though he has that Crown of the Shattered Queen, which means he can start to play aggressive.
He can look for it. The flash isn't good enough, but he scoops up 2. Scout now in a hell of a lot of trouble. He's going to be burnt down here by the Zeri on the backside. The electrocution just too much. Meiko trying to walk away, but he shall be burnt at the stake. 2 quick kills to RNG, and they own the map.
And it's such a good read on the play. They know Gala is coming up, so even though Scout flashes away to the side, Gala is there to clean up the kill. Flandre wasn't anywhere near, and I just feel like EDG aren't coordinated, right? You're moving your AD carry up, which shows they had intent to do the Herald, and yet they're slower on the punch, and RNG get rewarded.
They're still going for this one here. There's a TP coming in. Flandre's in and around the pit, but he's not really got the support just yet. Now we're going to see them look to try and re-engage onto this one. RNG a little bit disconnected after using everything, but they're still getting everyone out just in time. Ming just kind of body blocking the rocks. And EDG, they try to overforce something. They're still looking for it, but it's just not sticking.
No, and you can even see, I mean, Breeze got back towards that top side. He's managed to clear out the wave, even has the TP if he wants to go for a quick reset and get out. I mean, yes, you'll be able to get... Oh, hang on.
Oh, they're all still here. Not a lot of mana, not a lot of health bars, good sidestep and flashes, so EDG still hard forcing the point, but they're just getting summoners, not getting kills.
Yeah, they're beating summoners, which is something, but you need to translate that into a bit more, and right now, they committed so many resources top.
Who has
like,
TP?
Yeah, Xiaohu keeps in here. This could be huge. He's nearly got that Empress Divide available again.
I mean, you can't go for this dive right now. Breed's so close to Mega. It was just so risky. And EDG, it's starting to feel a bit desperate already.
Yeah, so much invested on the top side, but the Herald's already gone. There's a Dragon on the bot side of the map, but you've committed all your resources here, and honestly, RNG can be quicker to the punch to get onto it. This was a fantastic play, though. The preemptive flash to match the flash from Scout, and then he starts to walk this way, Gala over the wall to clean him up. Just such a heads-up play from Xiaohu.
Just a really good job of using the Mythic Diff as well, right? Has that Crown of the Shattered Queen, knows he can take the brunt of that initial damage that comes through, and sets up to play beautifully for RNG. And I can kind of see after that, as this play went on, EDG were trying to see if Viper could maybe get some plates in mid. He was only able to get 1, so you overcommit so many of those resources on the play then to try and salvage something back.
Yeah, but now, because they overcommitted on the top side, RNG, you saw Ming and Wei pushing in. They have a lot of deep vision around this side of the map, so if they want to make plays here, if they want to use the Herald, if they want to go for the Dragon, all these things they are now set up for on this side of the map, and they are looking potentially for a window on a Scout, but they don't find anything yet.
And the problem is now that EDG, we talked about the potential that they could play around bot, the potential they could get Scout unlocked. But if you look, I mean, Scout's behind the curve in comparison to Xiaohu. Gala and Ming massively accelerated in that bot side as well, thanks to kills, thanks to CS, and now you start to see that RNG can look to move over towards things like the Dragon, especially as we only a minute until we hit the 14-minute mark where Breathe can TP. I think that's why EDG are trying to see if they can quickly scoot in here and steal away the Dragon.
And that's what you were just talking about, is that because I think EDG are recognizing what you just said as well. They have to over-index now, which means that Flandre has to go towards that bot, loses his TP, kind of matching now into the side of Breathe. I was going to say, you could maybe now punish that on the top side, because Xiaohu's going to have first roam.
Yeah, they need to throw the Herald down because only 40 seconds till the plate, but we'll see if they find a kill as well.
Yeah, they're going to go in. There's going to be the Glacial Person coming out. You can see now Flandre just between a rock and a hard play. He does have flash available to him, and they're now both behind him, but ooh, just about gets himself away before that Mega Gnar. But again, you're losing so much on this top side, and Xiaohu might be saying hello.
There's more people here from RNG, making sure they can't get to the escape scout. With the Weaver's Wall, though, you can see Xiaohu decides to go towards the way that he has his teammates, but Breathe with that first tower on top. Let's see the response on bot lane.
Yeah, a lot of walls coming out for the mid laners, but ultimately RNG do get what they want, but I'll be honest, EDG, they don't lose Flandre. They get some plate damage on the bot side. Considering that RNG already had the Herald in pocket, I think EDG have done this pretty well, right? They also have that Mountain Dragon in pocket to boot. This could have been far worse for EDG, and they've kind of kept things relatively even.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is now seeing what RNG are going to do off reset here, because you have got the quicker reset coming through here from RNG, but looks like they're not just going to send Xiaohu back towards the... Actually, they're not. Yes, they're going to send Xiaohu top lane and see if they can try and push in that wave, and then maybe look to move across over towards the mid, see if they can catch people out. And I don't think it's the worst idea here from RNG, especially when you know how devastating something like the Shurima Shuffle can be underneath that turret. If you can get way in as well, like locking members up, tanking a lot of that damage, there's great turret dive on RNG if they can manage to get these waves in order first.
And like you said, just covering up towards that top side, Flandre going to be doing decently enough to keep pushing in this wave.
He's like always looking for a window to go in.
He's thinking about it as well. He goes in, he's like, "Are you think I'm going to flash?"
He is playing Azir like you play Lissandra or Galio, which is so on theme for him, if I'm being honest.
I mean, great call from Flandre. Like, it wasn't up, but it was damn close. So I don't know how well Flandre is aware of his Azir timers, but holding steady on that one, not actually burning anything to try and get away. And Wei will now spot out EDG as they move to try and contend on this mid wave.
All right, so the game's going to be kind of spreading out a little bit more. Turrets are going down. Teams are starting to try and be a bit more macro about it. TP's obviously becoming far more relevant now that they've been unleashed. We are seeing the AD carries just slowly but surely become relevant. But again, most of the series so far, they've been pretty much muted until the very, very late game. For EDG, it looks like they want to try and just roam around, get a full-on engage with this Vi, and it's going to be on RNG to try and go tit for tat on that.
Yeah, so I think the big thing here for EDG is you do have great pick potential. Vi, Nautilus can definitely set things up. Scout can come across very easily as well. It's just about trying to get tempo so you can make that play happen. And at the moment, they're struggling a little bit with Flandre to try and get control over the top side against Xiaohu. They don't have anybody who's in the bot lane. So I think this is actually their best time to see if they can make a play. And you can see they're trying to make that on towards Xiaohu as this wave is potentially moving up towards the top side.
Yeah, they can really lean pressure on him as well because they have so many point-and-clicks lockdown tools like the Vial, like the Nautilus. They did lean maybe a bit too many members up there. They're going to have to move back mid to defend. But, I mean, what is Xiaohu supposed to do in this situation? They do want to proc the crown. They get that there. But now he's just a sitting duck.
Breed just hit Mega Gnar as well. That's his TP, but he's about to run out as this comes through. This could be bad for RNG.
Yeah, he's a little bit late on it. There's a great explosive cast from Flandre. The Emperor's Divide shall do nothing. What a fantastic ult from the top laner of EDG.
Yeah, really nice play to literally just separate them completely, pick off Xiaohu, get the tower, and we see very little recourse coming in from RNG. They're going to try and make a move onto this mid lane tower. We'll see if EDG can get in position to defend.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to late kind of reset coming through here. TP is going to be committed to mid.
Yeah, they're going to look for it there. Viper's still around. They won't get the Demolish charge off from Wei, so that means that that turret does stay. And Flandre now putting himself in a position where they can still fight for this Rift Herald, dragging up in a minute's time as well, as both teams kind of trying to, move the tempo around to their own favor. But again, what a fantastic move here from Flandre.
Yeah, great cask. Managed to separate the Azir, and immediately you can see flashes coming in from from jiejie to make sure they could connect onto that. They did keep key ultimates, though, up and available for this dragon that's in 30 seconds. So jiejie won't have flash, which will make it a bit more difficult to maybe try and lean in with the Vault Breaker, but point-and-click CC there, and really good follow-up still available for EDG.
Well, they might look for Scout here.
Yeah, they're looking for him, and they will probably find him. They're going to flash in, get the permafrost down, CC him up, but Wei is tanky enough to keep that turret aggroed. Xiaohu gets a pick, and RNG back on the tempo.
And with Dragon up in just a few seconds, this could be perfect setup for RNG to lean into that and get control. We do see Herald going down mid, though, from EDG. They managed to secure the second one, and this will take that mid lane tower down. So first and foremost, RNG need to defend.
Yeah, especially with the way they're kind of separated here. Gala needs to be careful he's not on the business end of a cease and desist. You can see Dragon is already started by RNG and EDG, trying to see if they can separate the squad, but RNG say thank you very much. You're a bit slow off the mark there, lads.
Yeah, and Hextech Soul again, really powerful one. Great stats for so many of the champions. But just that...
so many of these this weekend.
Yeah, it's really,
what is going on?
LCK gets Cloud Soul, we get Hextech Soul. That was the deal.
But now both teams are dragging a piece, right? And at this, you know, we're 19 minutes. It's going to be another 15 minimums, like 35 before we see a soul coming in. It's really deep into the game, so not a massive focus, but still securing those dragons, getting those stats will make a difference. For the time being, though, we do see EDG at least going toe-to-toe with RNG, which I think is more than could be said for last game.
Yeah, I gotta say, though, like, this is a very different look from RNG, because when we have traditionally seen the Azir for this squad, they've just done nothing, right? They haven't been active in the early stages, but Wei looking far better when kind of being his own commander, right? Finding his way around the map, matching a lot of what jiejie wants to do. Again, on an engage tool, but they're getting engaged on.
Yeah, they're getting engaged on here. Ming is isolated, as is Gala. Gala should be able to flash away, and Ming tries to keep himself for his life as long as possible. But a lot of ultimates used, and EDG get their man.
Yeah, really good use off the wall there just to cut them off, but it's that Vi ultimate. This is why this pick is so potent, so frustrating to play against, because once the ult is connected, you know you're getting CC'd, and the only hope is, well, do you have a stopwatch or a Zhonya's, or are your team around to defend you?
RNG not to be outdone there. They were kind of roaming around thinking maybe Meiko would try and eke in a little bit of aggressive vision, but Meiko with a little bit of sixth sense saying, I don't need to do that. And again, we look at the replay here, just really good heads-up play from EDG. And again, someone who we wanted to step up in this series because the game 1 and 2, he was not really doing anything. Flandre finding a good pick.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting that we had so much focus on a Flandre with the Renekton pick, trying to set him up, get him an advantage, and just stick him on the Gragas, have him be a tank, and it's like working so much better.
I mean, this has just been a great game from EDG thus far. And again, starting to eke out that gold lead. I mean, 3 minutes until the next dragon. But if you can continue to find these picks, you can actually turn towards.
Yeah, they're not going to quite get the spell shield out of them just yet. There's going to be the cleanse, and you'd imagine Viper's going to flash. So no flash, no cleanse. Good opportunistic move there from RNG. And again, getting these summoners off of timers is huge.
And it's twice now that we've kind of seen EDG where just as we're about to praise them, Skip gets caught. Now Viper gets caught, kind of losing out this little bit. Now at least Viper keeps his life, but definitely you don't want to be giving those opportunities for people like Xiaohu to try and make the play. Wei, breathe, to find these opportunities to get on towards the main damage dealer on EDG.
And it feels so rough for Viper to be down those sums, especially on the Sivir who isn't immobile. You know, you get that movement speed, but not a dash. Having the flash is really big, and they won't have that for that next dragon. But I think the thought process is if he dies, maybe they end up just rushing the Baron, so didn't want to risk that happening. Ended up being in the sums, but it does mean that EDG will be at a power deficit in this next fight.
Right now, though, RNG are just playing the map better. EDG committing a ton of resources in towards mid, maybe looking for a pick with the Reaver's wall, but not finding anything, and now Breathe gets to put pressure onto the bot side again. Scout showing on the bot wave now means that RNG can actually start to play that a little bit more aggressive around this vision control and river, because they know they're not going to be separated by a Weaver's wall.
It does feel like EDG have been overgrouping at times, and it has worked, it has paid off, but it also does mean that like Breathe is pulling ahead in terms of CS, and it's going to become a pertinent issue in the side lane.
And it's actually interesting to see, because a lot of what EDG's issues were over-committing to a side lane with Scout, and then they get picked, or then they get caught out. Now it feels like they're trying to over-index into the opposite, and it's causing issues for them as well, especially when RNG are reading it relatively well in this game. But with a minute now until the Dragon, it is going to come down to, again, RNG looking for a pick, trying to see if they can find these front-to-back fights with people like the Azir and the Zeri popping off in the back line, whereas for EDG, it's about finding that one person, beating them down, and taking them out of the equation.
Here's a big thing to note, though. Viper, no summoners available, and if you look across at the items, not only has Breed just finished that Black Cleaver, which is a big spike, but Xiaohu and Gala both have stopwatches in pockets. They are just absolute counters to the Vi, to the Nautilus, so this might be a hard fight for EDG to take.
And this feels like a fight that can make or break this game. This feels like a fight that can make or break the truth of EDG summer is going to reign supreme. RNG 2-0 up in this series. EDG, you need to find this fight.
Like you mentioned, the stopwatch is available, and for the side of RNG, still no flash on Gala, so we'll have to keep an eye on the AD carries here. I will say, of course, the Zeri, hell of a lot more mobile. Breathe, ramping up towards his Mega. He wants to try and hold it for a little bit longer before that Dragon does spawn, and the poke is going to be very, very relevant. RNG recognizing they can't go through the shortcut and going to have to take the long way around.
And honestly, I'm looking a bit at Flandre, because if you throw a cask out, it's very non-committal. If they end up stopwatching it to avoid it, then that puts them in a really awkward position with the follow-up there. RNG has started up the Dragon and pulled it out. EDG are posturing, though.
Breathe messed up this Gnar bar, though. He's now gone Mega Gnar, which is why they have to immediately start this one up. Breathe has his flash.
Yeah, they're going to try and look for it there. They've separated out the tanks to one side, the carries to another, but here we go. Breed tries to jump in. He's just in a bounce house. Nowhere for him to go, and EDG get the steal. Now we can see a 4v5 fight. Never mind, it's going to be a 5v3 fight. Gala has nowhere to go. He did not have flash. Xiaohu tries to separate everyone out, and EDG finally get themselves in this game.
2-0 down, and when it started to feel tenuous, EDG find a fight, find the answer, and are going to find the Baron as well. JJ stealing the Dragon on top is the icing on the cake.
Back against the wall, and you never want to corner the snake. EDG will move over towards the Baron. This was exactly what they needed. The fight to break this game open. We'll catch it here in the replay. They do such a good job of forcing Breathe into the Mega Gnar as it kicks off. And Breathe, as he goes over the wall, immediately gets CC'd. Great job by Scout with the Unraveled Earth to plonk it down as the Gnar comes over the wall, so they can deal with the first problem and follow up with the rest.
Just fantastic target selection, just not allowing the Mega Gnar to function. And because as you said, Rob, the Mega Gnar came in too early. It forced RNG's hand, and EDG was so patient with their turnaround onto RNG.
Now we come back into live. Baron buff off. You got the Dragon as well. You've already mentioned it a while ago, Ox, but it's still a while away from the soul. But it's a 5,000 gold lead out of nowhere.
Yeah, and Breathe could be in trouble.
Oh, that was close.
Whew.
Does flash away. Something I want to mention, though, Viper got a triple kill in that fight. He also got the Baron gold as well. He's a full item over Gala.
Yeah, we're going to see them now try and catch out Flandre. So both top laners looking to see if they can get caught out. RNG not willing to let this Baron buff just sit and be used by EDG.
Yeah, really want to see if they can force these uneven scraps, but not quite able to do so. So they will just continue to push in these waves. And honestly, if you do just continue to push in these waves, that's going to work out pretty well for you, right? Like, you actually look at where the waves are positioned right now. You don't have a great push and bot to try and threaten that bot tier 2. Breathe now on top side to push that one in, and EDG are just trying to hard force mid lane, but RNG have a fairly sizable group here, so you can't just brute force your way in.
Again, plenty of decent wave clear with the Azir, with the Zeri as well. Not quite on 3 items just yet, but you know who is on 3 items? It's going to be Viper, and they should just kind of concede these outer towers, recognizing they don't want to go for a fight just yet.
Yeah, I mean, RNG stalled it well, but tier 2 is going to go down. It was so low, and now they should be able to just pressure this tier 2 on the bot side. Unlikely they'll be able to break an inhibitor, but we'll see. They'll still go for the attempt. At bare minimum, they're still getting a lot done here.
Yeah, it looks like RNG are at least trying to see if they can trade for the tier 2 on top side, but Breed's still there. Has his TP to join in, but just trying to see if RNG can use the wave clear that they have in Xiaohu, in Gala, to get this wave off the turret.
I mean, they're just kind of committing with the Gnar on the top side and kind of seeing if the RNG can defend the 2 lanes. They get the bot lane, but the wave was synced up, so they should be able to open up the base. That's going to be inhibitor exposed, but they are trading it on the other side.
Yeah, using the pressure from that bot wave from the wall, forcing RNG down, and sure, RNG do trade for a tower in the top lane, but because they have Engage coming in.
Yeah, they're going to try and get onto him. It's going to be way on the Sejuani, deleted, nowhere to go. They're still going for this 4v5. EDG could end the game right now if you're not too careful here, RNG. You're trying to commit with the Gnar, but it's a little bit too little too late. Now they recognize they need to get him back.
Yeah, Breed's trying to get the reset. I don't think EDG... Actually, this is a lot of minions. Maybe EDG do just try to brute force their way in.
It's going to be hard. They're going to look to try and clear out some waves here, but you can see there with the damage being cut out for the Sivir. They've got the Nexus turrets coming out here. EDG may have found themselves a lifeline. The Zeri needs to pop off if they want to try and defend it, but your Nexus is exposed. You just need to put down your mid laner and your support, and just out of nowhere, one bad fight at Dragon, EDG find a lifeline.
That was so well done by EDG. They spot Breathe trying to be that little bit too over-aggressive on the top side, and they pounce immediately, even onto the tanky Sejuani. They can find the fight and bring it back. at least this is one step on the way towards that reverse sweep.
They gave themselves agency, they gave themselves team fighting tools, and they performed great. And they also didn't first pick Sejuani. Just a lot of positives for the side of EDG.
I mean, but it was absolutely spectacular to see. I'm so glad that we got to see finally EDG coming in and trying to enact their game. Now, I don't think they had the best of control in the early stages, but when it got towards team fights, when it got towards the understanding of how they wanted to operate around the dragon, that was what was the big difference maker to me.
And I feel like that's what we've seen best from them, right? Is when we lean in those team fights. I feel like this is a team where even when EDG was struggling earlier in the season in spring, it's like Scout and Viper in particular are just so good. Like, there's no other way to phrase it. They're just such fantastic carries that if you get them even to an even phase in the later stage of the game, often that's enough.
I mean, that's the EDG we've been seeing all split. That's the EDG we saw in this previous matchup between these two, is that they were able to find those fights on their terms and then just kind of, you know, hands check them, say, look, we're better than you, and just couldn't kind of put it any better than when Scout was able to completely stop Breathe on that Gnar. That one fight ended the game. It literally was the pivotal point.
It was like Breathe had thrown at the boomerang, and then you got the, not the unravel bird, you got the boulder toss coming in just to pepper him down that last little bit. So the Gnar bar popped, and that's what forced the issue coming through. So Scout played that fight beautifully. Viper was then able to clean up. And then again, just trying to play out that map slightly better with Breathe over indexing into that top side.
I will say, though, with RNG losing, they do get side selection. Might see them going over onto the blue side. So again, the draft kind of priorities coming in. They won't have to ban the Yuumi. They can start banning away some other things. And again, similar enough, we're seeing such a high priority on this jungle first pick. It could be the Vi going over to Wei.
Yeah, and I came out of the draft, and I feel like game 1 and 2, RNG done a lot to even up or find an edge. I didn't like RNG's draft nearly as much in this game. I feel like they didn't use the Sejuani flex as much, which, you know, it may sound like I'm slamming RNG, but honestly, I feel like EDG came into this with a draft edge, and yeah, they got the win. But should we have a more even draft, we could see this being a 3-1, so they cannot stop now. They have got this game win, but they still need to do a full reverse sweep if they want to win this series.
Especially when you look at like things like the Taliyah. I would have expected the Taliyah to be the one that's going over towards Xiaohu, not the Azir. And I think we got to see it there that, look, I mean, when you see Scout on the Azir versus when we see Xiaohu on the Azir, they're just night and day. So I think that's the big one coming in here, is like going back to what is actually more comfort for RNG, taking things that can have an impact in the early stages, get control on the map. Like, that has been the better side of RNG.
Yeah, it really has felt like, again, we saw the Azir almost as a denial. They didn't ban it, so they felt like they had to pick it away, and it just doesn't feel like it fits the wheelhouse of how RNG want to play the game. But for EDG, it works out very, very well. They are now in the series with a 1-2 scoreline. RNG still on match point, and we're going to send it to a quick break and then back to the analysts.